He's a fashion icon among his revolutionary peers, and he is everywhere. In fact, all of this is Che. Ernesto Che Guevara.
There is the famous T-shirt. It is so famous, in fact, that you can buy T-shirts that have images of the T-shirt on it. Che's image, it sells beer, it sells lighters, it sells belt buckles, it sells baby onesies.
Why are you risking your life to fight for us?
And nowhere is Che seemingly loved more than in Hollywood, USA.
You'll see. When Fidel's running things, everybody will read and have food on the table.
But is that who Che really was?
One of the things that is fascinating about the cult of Che is that it effectively thrives in the absence of any kind of historical understanding.
For example, look around at an anti-war rally, and you probably see Che.
Che was a self-taught revolutionary who was instrumental in Castro's takeover of Cuba. He became known as the Butcher of La Cabana prison in revolutionary Cuba, where he personally oversaw the execution of anywhere from 175 to several hundred people. He's implicated in thousands of deaths that come after that.
14,000 men and boys were executed in Cuba during the 1960s.
He said that his dream was to become a killing machine. He said to his revolutionary comrades, if they weren't sure of someone's loyalty, if in doubt, kill him. These are the realities that we need to understand about Che.
You could probably call him clinically a sadist. When you read his diaries, he goes into particular detail about when he himself shoots people in the head.
But it goes beyond war. Go to a rock concert, and you're sure to see Che.
This is a man who tried to ban free expression, particularly musical expression such as rock music and jazz music, because he thought it was imperialist. He was the Caribbean equivalent of the Taliban. He enforced a single moralistic viewpoint, and if you didn't agree with him, you would be killed.
One of my favorite is Carlos Santana. At the 2005 Oscars, naturally, the Motorcycle Diaries won an Oscar, and Carlos Santana went there to play the theme song for it. Well, he was wearing a Che Guevara t-shirt. Carlos Santana was showing off the emblem of a regime that made it a criminal offense to listen to Carlos Santana music.
But surely Che was a progressive and uniting force on race, right?
He says, the Negro is lazy and indolent and spends all of his money on frivolities and booze, whereas the European is intelligent and forward-looking. This is from his own diaries, yet we've got Jesse Jackson down there. Viva Che! We've got Jay-Z with a song with the lyrics, I'm just like Che Guevara with a bling on.
I'm like Che Guevara with bling on. I'm complex.
Maybe he is complex. Either that or this guy doesn't know that this guy would have thought that this guy was nothing but a frivolous, lazy drunk just because of the color of his skin. So what's wrong with wearing the t-shirt of a warmongering, bloodthirsty racist? Well, what if he was also a terrorist, too?
To his home, to his places of work, to his places of recreation. We will attack the enemy wherever he lives. Folks, this was written in 1966. He preempted Al-Qaeda by 30, 40 years.
Let's see if you can tell the difference. Which quote is from Che, and which one is from Osama bin Laden? Who said that if he had nuclear weapons, he would use them against the very heart of America, including New York City? And who said the U.S. is a great enemy of mankind? Against those hyenas, there is no option but extermination. Yeah, it was kind of unfair. It was a trick question. Both of those quotes are from Che. Luckily, his attempts at killing Americans on our soil were about as effective as his attempts to ignite revolution around the world.
We look 50 years into the future, and there are only two unapologetic communist regimes, North Korea and Cuba. If they had enough nutrition in order to run out of North Korea, they would do that. They're starving there. In Cuba, we see time and again People who are so desperate to get off that island hellhole that they will swim through shark-infested waters. Che was the vanguard of the revolution. He was going to bring communism everywhere around the world. In this sense, Che was an absolute abject failure, and it's a damn good thing that he was.
While Che wasn't successful in his bid for world revolution, there are plenty of people trying to pick up right where he left off. So what was it like to live in the one place that Che was successful? Find out next. You've heard the infamous quote that one death is a tragedy, a million is a statistic. We've examined these events from a big picture perspective, but now let's move away from the statistics and look at the personal tragedy. Che Guevara. His image is a global fashion phenomenon. Hopefully, by now, you know why that's so offensive to so many. But giving you the number of executions he ordered is one thing. Seeing the effect is another.
They portrayed him in the movies as a hero and as a humanitarian. He was a cold killer. This is
Barbara Rangel's grandfather, Colonel Cornelio Rojas.
He was a freedom fighter way before Batista came into power. He was descendant of patriots. His father was a general, and his grandfather was also a general brigadier that fought for the Cuba's War of Independence against Spain.
One day, her grandfather was just gone.
When Fidel Castro and Che Guevara arrived in Havana, it was January '59, and that's precisely when my grandfather disappeared. My family had no idea where he was. All of a sudden, my family was in the living room watching television, and they see my grandfather walking. They were extremely happy to see him, and then they realized that he was walking towards the wall. He started screaming, and my grandmother collapsed. They realized that he's going to be executed. When they asked him if he wanted to be blindfolded, and he said no, and he said, there you have the revolution, take care of it. He asked if he could give the firing orders, and he says, aim, fire. He died like a hero.
And he was executed by cowards.
There was no trial whatsoever. Che Guevara did not allow a trial. He was taken prisoner at the beginning of January and executed January 7th. That is something that I will never forget. There is not one day in my life that I don't think about him.
Barbara's pregnant mother was so traumatized, she went into labor 3 months early.
What is a person supposed to do, you know? Rejoice for the birth of your son, or cry for the death of your father?
Meet Barbara's mother, Blanca.
Che Guevara me quitó lo más grande que yo podía tener en mi vida, porque para mí mi padre era lo más grande, porque él era muy buen padre. Eso me lo quitó el Che Guevara, y por eso 50 años vengo padeciendo, y nunca podré olvidar lo que me hizo.
For those who lived with the real Che, it is impossible to understand, in America of all places, how anyone would want him on a t-shirt.
Please do a lot of research before you make a fool of yourself wearing a t-shirt of a cold killing machine.
Throughout the interview with Barbara and Blanca, they were incredibly strong. But you can see how deeply these events have shaken them, even to this day.
Yo no he podido ser la misma mujer que fui antes, porque yo...
This is the real legacy of Che. It's murder, destruction, and broken families.